إيريك أوشلان، مدير منظمة العمل الدولية في مصر. ويلكم.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
لا شكر على واجب، احنا سعداء بيك جدا، وعندنا أسئلة كتير عايزين نوجهها لحضرتك إن شاء الله عشان نوضح للناس الدور اللي بتقدموه وإيه هو الإتجار بالبشر بتفاصيله. إمتى بدأ دور البعثة في مصر؟
Well, the ILO, the International Labour Organization, is quite an old organization. We were established in 1919, and the first office of ILO in Egypt was established in 1959. That means that we have more of 60 years experience here in Egypt. And then, of course, we have a large portfolio of activities. It concerns the promotion of decent work, the promotion of social justice, and the ILO has a unique particularity among the UN agencies, a tripartite organization bringing together not only the government, but also employers' organization and trade unions and workers' organization. And that's also our added value. And then we work with all of them. We work with more than 12 ministries. Of course, the Ministry of Labor, which is our main partner, but also Ministry of Social Solidarity, Foreign Affairs, Planning, etc. Then, of course, we focus on the promotion of decent work. It means that the people have access to decent jobs on the labor market in decent working conditions. It means in terms of health and safety, in terms of decent wages, and of course, no forced labor and no child labor. That's of course the issue of this podcast.
جميل جميل. طب إيه هو التعريف اللي بتحدده المنظمة للإتجار بالبشر؟ التعريف.
Well, of course, the ILO has shared the definition of the UN. For us, we define trafficking in person as a recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of person by means such as coercion, abuse of power, or abuse of vulnerability for the purpose of exploitation. Of course, forced labor is part of TIP, like also sexual exploitation of traffic of organs. For the ILO, the main issue are, of course, forced labor and child labor, because that's linked to the mandate of the ILO and the world of work.
طب إيه المؤشرات اللي بتحددها المنظمة؟ لأن ده عمل قسري، ما هي المؤشرات؟
We have 11 indicators. I have to read them because
Good.
not to forget one. One is abuse of vulnerability, deception, restriction of movement, isolation, physical and sexual violence, intimidation and threats, retention of identity documents, like passport, for instance, withholding wages, debt bondage, abusive working and living condition, excessive overtime. And of course, if one or more of these criteria are met, then we can speak about forced labor. And forced labor affect everyone. Everyone can be affected by forced labor. Of course, some people are more vulnerable to forced labor than others, like migrant people or like people with low education.
أكتر الأنواع اللي موجودة من هذا العمل القسري في مصر.
Well, the situation of migrant workers and illegal migrant workers. Of course, there is also the issue of child labor, which is affect in the last data more than 1.6 million children. We expect more new figures soon by CAPMAS, but then of course that's where we need to fight and to work with the different partners to reduce the impact.
تمام. في أعمال كتيرة بتبقى أعمال شاقة وساعات العمل الإضافية فيها كتير. إمتى نقدر نحدد إن ده عمل مقبول أو ده عمل قسري؟
Based on the definition of forced labor, it's doesn't mean that if you do overtime that you are in situation of forced labor. It means that it's really against your will. If you are forced to work in a difficult condition, in terms of you are not paid, you are forced to work late by night, and but it's mainly because it's against your will and that you are forced to work. Yeah, then we can speak about forced labor. But if you work on a document on the evening and so on, it will not be forced labor. The really issue of forced labor was the word force. It means that someone asks you to work against your will. And that's the case of forced labor.
تمام. هنا بقى نتكلم عن عمل الأطفال، هو كله قسري.
There is a ILO convention defining the minimum age to go to work. It's 15 years then, which is linked to also to the mandatory age to go to school. Then there's definition about the worst form of child labor, where it's strictly forbidden to be in situation on the worst form of child labor. For instance, in mining, it's strictly forbidden to send children to mining. Now, if it is someone to support the work outside the school hours, in normal condition, with not in terms of working condition, temperature, and so on, there are possibilities that the legislation will define the different conditions. For instance, a child who is an actor, he can work. But it's really for specific condition and working condition which are defined by the law, by the national legislation. And that's why it's important, and with the new labor code also, to define the different levels, when it's strictly forbidden to work, when it's possible, but it is light work, or if it is because it's part of the worst form of child labor, and then that's strictly forbidden. And recently, with the Ministry of Labor, there was an adoption of the list of profession which are strictly forbidden for children.
ممكن نعرف ايه القائمة دي؟ يعني غير المحاجر والمناجم والحاجات دي عشان نوعي بيها الناس.
You mean as example of for instance,
yes.
You cannot ask a child to go during the night to collect or to flowers, cotton, to collect that's in agriculture, in the mining sector, to work in the mine, for instance, that's of course strictly forbidden.
في عندنا في مصر وفي العالم يعني حكاية العمالة المنزلية، كيف نحدد إذا كان فيها قصر أو ظلم أو قهر أم لا؟ العمالة المنزلية.
It's very important issue because it's the issue of domestic workers, and it's probably where there are a lot of cases of forced labor and abuses. And first, the ILO adopted a Convention 189 on the domestic workers. And I know that the government also is working on a special law also to regulate domestic workers. And then we are providing support to the Ministry of Labor and other partners in this law. And I hope that this new law will solve some of the issues. Of course, domestic workers is difficult to control. A lot of domestic workers are not registered. It's also where there are a lot of migrant workers coming from abroad. Then it's very difficult sometimes to provide protection because also they don't work in a factory, they don't work in an institution, they work in a private place. And that's why it's very also sometimes difficult for the authorities to control if there are abuses or not. And for instance, if they keep the passport with them or not, if they are paid in terms of violence also against them, then it's very difficult and sensitive issue. And then I hope that the new legislation will solve the issue here in Egypt. And as I say, we are working with the government and to provide our expertise and recommendation on that law.
ما هي أهم البنود في القانون الجديد التي تساعد يعني العمالة القسرية في القانون الجديد؟
On the labor code, there are different clauses. As ILO, we provided comments before the adoption by the parliament. Now we are in the phases of reviewing the law, and we will make some comments to the government, and we will work as we promised to the Minister of Labor to work on the implementation of the law and to see also we can provide support to the labor inspectors in the case of forced labor, so to reinforce their capacity to assess the situation of forced labor in Egypt. Then it's really in terms of working with the government. ILO is not, we don't have an inspection unit. We don't have, we are here to provide recommendation and views to the government, but also to the different partners, and means in terms of the press organization or the trade unions also to see their role, or which role they can play in terms also of eradication of forced labor.
المنظمة بتقدم إيه بالنسبة للعمالة المصرية في الخارج؟ هل ده من اختصاصها وممكن تكون بتقدم لهم إيه؟
Well, yes, we have a project currently called TAM, towards an holistic approach to labor migration, which is funded by the European Union. And this project is in partnership with the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, but also the Italian cooperation and the German cooperation. And this now is part of the legal migration. We don't speak about illegal migration. It's really to prepare the Egyptian people who like to migrate to find a job in that case, mainly in Germany and in Italy, but also in Europe because it's supported by the EU. In terms of to ensure I would say they are prepared to work in these countries. Then also is in terms of information for them about their rights in this country, and also to work closely with as I said, the Italian and the German cooperation agencies in terms, and for them to prepare to the specific needs also from the labor market in these two countries. Then it's ready to provide advice and to ensure that there are a fair recruitment process for them when they work abroad.
العمل ده عمل صعب وشاق ومتسع، هل ليكوا شركاء في هذا العمل وكيف انضموا ليكم؟
Of course, we have a lot of partners, and the first partner is the government. We work closely with the Ministry for Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Labor. We have done training with them about with the labor inspectors, with the labor attaché, I mean the people working in embassies abroad. We work with the different institutions. We work closely also with the NCM team and PIP, which is PIP and TIP, which is also a key partner here to work on TIP related issues. That's the governmental side. We work also with I forgot to mention the Ministry of Social Solidarity in terms of also to support of victims. And we work also with the trade unions in terms of raising awareness and to increase the role of the trade union to work with the private sector, with the different employers' organizations like the Federation of Egyptian Industries, also to raise awareness for them about the different issues of forced labor, child labor also in the industry or in the agriculture. And we work also with different NGOs in terms of partnership, in terms also of implementing partnership. In the case of child labor, we have a program called SCREAM, which is really and we work closely with NGOs, but we also with the local representative from Ministry of Social Solidarity, with the local banks, to raise the awareness about the families that they should avoid child labor, they should send the kids to school and not to factories or to field, and we create games with them, we create awareness session to be sure that they keep the children out of child labor. And also we create, I would say, income opportunities for them. In terms, they have to diversify, they can have some job opportunities, or they can create small businesses. That's in partnership with the different also partners like MOS, like the Takaful Karama program, who can also join closely with this initiative.
من وجهة نظر حضرتك كمسؤول في المنظمة أو مدير فرعها في مصر يعني، إيه اللي بتقدمه المنظمة للإسراع في القضاء على هذه الظاهرة؟
Well, we of course it's a difficult issue. We have achieved some results. I think in terms of commitment from the different actors, from the state, from the private sector, from the NGOs. When there is a crisis, like we have seen with the COVID time or economic crisis, the first victims are the most vulnerable people. We have seen with COVID that, yes, send some children back to work, or there are some abuses in terms of respect of working conditions, not only in Egypt, everywhere. but it's a permanent fight. And I think we have achieved some result in some sectors like the cotton when we had the project. We're also working on the issue of jasmine now, and I think with some first positive results.
Yes.
But it's not something that ILO alone will solve. Alone will solve nothing. We need the support from the other UN agencies like IOM, UNODC. We work with, as I mentioned, different partners, government, private sector, the banks, the NGOs. And yes, I think we need to do all the efforts to remove children from work, to eliminate forced labor.
يعني برضه أحب أسأل عن شكل التعاون بينكم وبين الحكومة المصرية. يعني ما هي أشكال التعاون اللي بينكم لمواجهة المشكلة دي؟
We work at different levels. We work at the national level, I would say the macro level in terms of legislation, which was just adopted. There is the new law on domestic workers. We work also with the Ministry of Labor on the OSH profile and the health and safety strategy, which will be adopted soon. That's I would say the macro level at national level, but we work also on the capacity building in terms of, for instance, for the labor inspectors. We work also with the judges. I was this morning at the South Banya Court to open a legal aid office and then to help the workers in terms if they want to make a complaint and to be sure that also the employer also respect the working conditions and the payment of wages and of course all of this. Then we work also in terms of victims, in terms of rehabilitation for the victims, in terms of forced labor, but also family to create I would say the conditions for them to find a decent job or to find opportunities to get different kind of incomes and not to be in situation of forced labor or child labor for children.
ايه هو الانجاز الكبير اللي ممكن نقول ان ده قدمته المنظمة لاصحاب هذه المأساة والضحايا زي ما بنسميهم؟ الانجاز اللي حضرتك بتعتبره انجاز يعني علامة.
Well, for me, I've attended several workshop. It's not workshop; it's more than that. Event with children in Fayoum or in other places. As I mentioned, the SCREAM program, and as part of this event, we see the children playing a game, and when I see the children smiling, happy to be there and not to be in the field and collecting cotton or collecting any other things, just to see the smile of children, for me that's the best achievement I can see.
صحيح. واكبر حاجة لما جيت واشتغلت في المنظمة هنا في مصر، اكبر حاجة حسيت انها اساءة ويجب التخلص منها في المجتمع، عادة من عاداتنا حسيت انها اساءة وعلامة من علامات العمل القسري اللي لازم نعالجها.
Well, I think for me the best achievement is the next one, and then and I think for instance with the domestic law, we're still working on that, but really there is a need to regulate the domestic workers, for the Egyptian domestic workers, but also for the foreign domestic workers. I think it should be for all. And that's for me, it's what I'm looking for now. It's really to see a clear framework for that, because there are a lot of abuses and forced labor and even child labor also in that sector.
يعني خلينا نسألك سؤالي الأخير، ما هي أمنيتك كمواطن جاء إلى هذا البلد ويتمنى أن الناس تتعلم حاجة معينة تفيد المجتمع في العمل القسري؟ يعني ملاحظة لاحظتها ونفسك ان احنا كمجتمع نتخلص منها، يعني عايز منك نصيحة للمجتمع بانه يساعد مساعدة فعالة في هذا الداء الصعب يعني.
Well, I've been in Egypt for 13 years, then quite a long experience now of people here, and my wish is really for people to take conscious about the children, and to say children, they have to go to school, they have to play, they don't have to work in factories on the field. And then really my wish is to be sure that all families, especially in rural areas, that yes, they are aware that yes, children, they have to be at school or they have to play. They have to be in the playground, not in factories.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.